spent a little bit of time on the island, and I have a few stories that I won't go into now. But if anyone out there has a story that involves brewing beer, water skiing, or model rocketry, I might be involved in that story. But I was trying to think of one story that would work well in this setting, and I couldn't come up with anything. So I went to the web, where I spend 20-something hours of my day, and I typed in Hurricane Island, and I found a lovely little site hosted by Langley Willauer, and I found a little reading that I thought would be perfect. Okay. Starts off sadly, it gets better. Hang in there. On the 3rd of November, 1999, the Powell's cabin on Hurricane Island, Maine, burned to the ground. A worker from Gaston's house was staying there without permission, got the stove too hot, and set the house on fire. Luckily, he escaped. The Vinyl Haven Fire Department was called, but by the time they got there, there was nothing that could be done. Okay, so that's the background. Now I have a story to tell from someone I'll name later. I first heard of the loss of the cabin from my daughter. She'd had a call or an email and heard the news and called me immediately, knowing that I would be shaken and affected by this. We talked for a while, but it wasn't in the words. An important piece of our history had just been erased, and we both knew it. I've been struggling with putting the meaning of it into words ever since. It's still not there. Why does this feel like such a loss? It was just a building. It's not like death or disease or divorce. It must be that it's a symbol of something more. I guess that for others too, or else Langley wouldn't have put this on the site. So I offer these words for me and my daughter and for Strats, who would know better than I what to say, and for all of us who were present in those early years and who have felt the energy and the magic that Peter and Betty and their remarkable family built and nurtured on Hurricane Island. Part of it for me is the lack of history at HIOPS. Each course shows like a meteor in the sky and it's gone, leaving us wondered if it really happened. We used to have an official photograph of each watch at the start of the course, but somehow that went by the boards in the 1970s, probably when we started doing overlapping courses. Each student of each watch used to sign in and out of the logbook, but that ended shortly after Powell had to give up starting each course. It's a comfort that Penn is still working for HIOPS, because he is linked to those times. My memory is not what it used to be. We are not that strength which in the old days moved earth and heaven. But I know we're privileged to be part of an extraordinary creation in a remarkable time. We still explore the Maine coast in small boats with primitive equipment, and we still do great courses one day at a time, and for this I am grateful. But in those early days, we knew we were doing something more than that. We were engaged in nothing less than healing the world by inventing a new paradigm of teaching and learning and treating each other. That this lofty task demanded everything we could give was unquestionable. Even the Brits, with scores of outbound courses under their keels, knew and accepted that something new under the sun was occurring at Hurricane Island. I do not mean to say that all was wonderful in the old days and somehow diminished now. I think that the apprentice system of learning the craft of outbound is working, and that in a sense that Powell and Ralph and Lance and Strats would approve, much of the art has passed from generation to generation and grown stronger and richer in the process. I'm amazed at the skill and care of young instructors today creating their courses one student at a time. It is still wonderful to be in the field, but it's not what it was in the 60s and early 70s, nor should it be. But those of us who were there, either because we were employed as staff or because they were born into it, like the Willauer boys, know that we were lucky enough to be a part of a glorious time that is past and shall not come again. And I think that because there is no record at that time, save in our fading memories, I count too much on things like the cabin to be a repository of my feelings for all we did and endured in those early years. And when it burns, it feels as though something were taken from me and from us all. But of course it hasn't. Nothing can take away what we achieved in those years. I feel blessed and grateful to have been a part of them. I worked in a theater production a few years ago with Joseph Burach, the Native American storyteller. At the end of the show, he gathered us all in a circle and he walked around it twice, meeting each of our eyes as he walked. When he had finished, he turned and addressed us all, saying simply, "You are remembered." And so I would say to each of you who shared those times, you are remembered. With love and light,